Hey everyone, welcome back to part 3 of our tutorial series on building a dynamic portfolio using React and Firebase. In this video, we will be setting up Redux for state management. Especially, we will create our Redux store inside configure store.js, define the root reducer inside root reducer.js, integrate Redux with our React app in index.js. So let's get started. First, we must know what Redux is and why we need it in our project. Redux is a state management library that helps manage global state in large-scale applications. Since our portfolio handle user authentication, stored preferences, and other dynamic content, Redux with persist storage ensures that our data remains available even after page reloads. Alright, let's begin by setting up our Redux store in configure store.js. First, we will import the necessary packages. We installed all the npm packages which are required for our Redux store setup in the last video, that is in part 2 video. If you have not yet watched, please go and watch part 2 video and then continue with this video. So first, we will import create store, apply middleware, and compose from Redux. Create store is responsible for creating our Redux store. Apply middleware allows us to add middleware such as thunk for handling asynchronous actions. And compose is a utility that lets us combine multiple store enhancers. Next, we import thunk from Redux thunk, which is a middleware for handling asynchronous actions like API calls. Then we import persist store and persist reducer from Redux Persist. Persist store helps us to persist the Redux state across page refreshes, and persist reducer allow us to apply persistence to our root reducer. Finally, we import storage from Redux Persist /lib/storage, which specifies us that we want to use local storage for saving our Redux state. Next, import root reducer from root reducer.js. We have not set up our root reducer yet, so let's first set it up and then move forward with our store configuration. Inside the root reducer file, first import combine reducers from Redux. Combine reducer is used to combine multiple reducers. And next we will import router reducer from React Router Redux. Router reducer gives us application's routing state so that we can store it in our Redux state. Next we will define our root reducer. So export const root reducer is equal to combine reducers. Inside curly braces, we will set router router reducer. There is a typo here. Please make sure that router reducer is written instead of root reducer. We are done with setting up our root reducer. Now let's get back to configure store.js, and now we define our persist configuration. Const persist config equal to braces key root comma storage. The key is set to root, meaning all of our state will be saved under this key in local storage. And storage specifies us that we want to use local storage. Const persisted reducer is equal to persist reducer bracket persist config, which we just defined above, comma root reducer, which we have imported from root reducer. This takes our root reducer and enhances it with persistence functionality. Next, let's define our middlewares. Const middlewares is equal to bracket thunk. Right now we only have thunk in our middleware array, but we could add more like Redux logger if needed. Next, we set up compose enhancers for Redux DevTool support. Finally, let's create our store. Export const store is equal to create store, which we imported from Redux. You can see at the top. Persisted reducer, empty braces, compose enhancers bracket apply middleware which we just imported at the top, bracket dot 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 middlewares dot 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 is a spread operator, and middlewares is a array which we just defined above. Create store is taking 3 arguments, that is persist reducer, our main reducer with persistence enabled which we just defined above, and empty braces our initial state, empty in this case, we are not going to pass initial state here. Next, compose enhancers, we can apply our middleware and enhancers. All these 3 arguments are passed to create store function to create the store. So we also export persister to handle persisting the state. So export const persister is equal to persist store which we just imported from Redux Persist at the top, persist store bracket store which we just created, we will pass it inside this persist store. Persist store bracket store wraps our Redux store and enables state hydration for local storage. Next, we will modify our index.js for Redux integration. Now let's integrate Redux into our React app. First, we will import provider from React Redux. We will also import browser router, routes, and route from React Router DOM. Earlier in the old version of React Router DOM, switch is used instead of routes. Now we are going to use routes, and in the next phase we might switch back to older version of React Router DOM. Since we are going to use class components and functional components, it will be feasible to switch back to older version so that we can work with redirects and all. Finally, we import our Redux store and persister from our store which we just defined. Also, we will import persist gate from Redux Persist /integration/React, and once this is done, inside the render function we will wrap our app with providers and persist gate. So let's start by putting provider, and inside that we will pass store which we just imported, and inside the provider we will put persist gate, and inside that pass persister is equal to persister, and inside that we will put browser router which ensures client side routing, and inside that we will put routes which ensures that only the matching route is rendered, and then inside that we will put route and pass path is equal to / which indicates the route, and element is equal to app. Once this is done, we will go and refresh our app. Here we can see the typo error of root reducer which we just discussed earlier. Go and make changes in the root reducer.js file. Replace root reducer with router reducer and it will get solved. Once this is done, here you can see our portfolio app is running, and now what we are going to do is we will console log our Redux state inside our app.js. For that, open app.js, and inside this, for now we are going to use modern Redux. In this, just for the demo purpose, we are going to use use selector, which is a hook for getting the Redux state. Inside app function, const Redux state is equal to use selector, and inside that, inside the bracket state, arrow and state. This is going to set the Redux state to Redux state variable, and we will log Redux state in our console. Let's refresh. Now you can see Redux state is logged, and inside that you can see router is there, which is the initial state which we just set up inside our root reducer. That's all for today. Stay with me throughout this playlist to build your dynamic portfolio step by step. Make sure to add this video to your watch later list so you won't miss the upcoming parts. Thanks for watching.